You explored the Pride space yet?
Yes, we did.
Oh, we
the
did.
last time.
Oh, that's right. I
Pride.
showed you
I
very
was
quickly.
excited. I as soon as I logged in, I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's in the Pride room."
So the other thing that they've made available on a just for some beta testers is there's a totally blank room and you get to put the furniture where you want to put it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I started playing with
Fun.
that today actually. I'll show you that sometime. But and unfortunately yet can't there are no places to put a link to anything. But anyway, doesn't matter. Let's go talk to them and we'll be able to hear when other people come. They're up toward the top. Where are they? I have to turn the map on to find out where they are.
I just got some music. That was good.
Right. Oh, there they are. They're over getting a drink.
You have to press pour a drink, I'll bet.
Yep.
But what am I pressing it with enter or an arrow?
No.
You press it with your cursor.
Hi, Marina. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm giving a guided tour of the room. That's a scary spot.
Isn't it great though?
It's a great room. It's
Well, I was on a tour last week, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!"
Right.
So one of the things,
Marina, drink.
Melissa is going to be working on our project with us.
Hi, Marina.
So you all have drinks. Good.
Yes.
So one of the things that this room demonstrates that I've been wanting to do is the ability to have a link out to something, which is kind of exciting. So if you go down to the flower chairs in the lower right corner, over here, yeah. Turn my map off.
Okay.
And
right.
There you go. You can click on the newspaper that's on the table.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow, okay. Okay.
And then it opens in a different tab, so you can just close it and you'll go back to Kumo Space.
Right.
But the idea of where'd Nikki go?
Is she still in the could I open it in a new
It opens in
page?
It opens in a new tab, I think.
Right, but if I wanted to stay looking at you guys simultaneous
could it be a pop-up? I don't think
Right.
so. I don't know.
Okay.
But what we begin to imagine is like in an elementary, at least that's my association, where you have workstations around.
Right.
You could set up different activities to do, and people could move around and do those activities. And they just today opened up the ability to, they give you a totally blank room and you get to put the furniture where you want to put it.
Okay.
So we should do our work. It looks like nobody else is coming tonight. It's okay. It's sort of a
I did such a good job of closing it that I closed myself out of Kumo Space.
Oh, okay. So you see how you can just close the tab, right?
Well, I'm scared to try again, but let me see if I can try again.
It opens in a new tab, and then
got it.
If you just close the tab, you should be.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is that. Now, I don't totally understand. I don't totally understand the but come to the center of the room and just follow me. Which I'll show you what else. Like you can get a heart right here. I'm not sure. You can get a heart right here. I'm not sure why we want a heart, but we get a heart. And then if you go all the way to the top, you'll see another example. Up by the music, and if you click on the flag, get Como Space Prides.
Ah. Okay. You get a pride statement. Okay.
So that's what I've been wanting ever since I saw this space. That's what I've been wanting to ask them to do.
I did not get a heart.
You didn't get a heart?
No.
Click in the center of the tape, in the center here. You click this.
The white centerpiece.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. You click it with your cursor. You get near it, but you click it with your cursor. There you go.
There we go. Okay. I feel much better now.
And you can get all varieties of different couples in the art around the room, just to say. I don't know what this chair does.
Yeah, that was when I...
The chair gives you a rainbow. You can get a rainbow. Anyway. Beyond... So, I'm not sure what all the purpose of all that is. But there you go. Okay, so what do we want to work on? It's just us, but
okay.
So we could, yeah.
I sort of started playing with some of the youth voices features that I found.
Okay.
And really pretty random, which is kind of the way I work. And I found that you could make your own podcast. Is that the case?
Sure you can. Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You create a it's as simple as creating. Somebody needs to set up the podcast. What's it called? Series. And then all the student has to do is create it. It's the same as I can't talk to me. Sorry. It's the same as creating a discussion post, except you drop in you upload your audio. It's pretty simple. It's actually so simple. It's yeah, but there are quite a few podcasts on the site.
So what I'm wondering is, I was just sort of thinking about some of the things that we're encouraging students to learn to do this summer as part of the playlist activity. Would it make sense to show them some of the features that would allow them to create multimodal assignments like a podcast?
That would be a good one. Yep. Yeah, I could.
I also went through a little bit. I didn't try it out, but I went through the playlist, which was sort of, here's how you set up your profile.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to do something similar to that?
We were thinking to, yes.
Okay, that just seemed to make really good sense.
So let me ask you though a question about podcasts. So and I could show some of this as well as talk about it, but we could just talk about it. But like Kiran Chaudhry is the last one who did a podcast, and she had students find a poem and read that poem.
Okay.
Right, and that ended up being a podcast that's under the podcast label. But what we actually one of the assignments we ask students to do is record their introduction of themselves in sort of the second playlist that we asked them to do. So if that's what you mean by, and that's not much different, you just upload the audio, but it doesn't necessarily go to a series of anything.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
So we can do that.
In other words, I just think that as we think about introductory activities, we try to expose students to some of the capabilities. Some of the students will fly with it, others won't. And then the other thing I wanted to think about, Marina, is as we think about working with younger kids, they're working with younger kids. You had mentioned that there are going to be sites that are more appropriate for younger kids than Youth Voices, but where they can apply some of the skills that they're learning. So I want to make sure that that goes into one of the introductory playlists as well.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me you're learning a lot of skills which are probably very transferable on Youth Voices to a site that may be a little more protected and a little bit more sanitized for younger children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the third question I have is, I tried to use it, but I couldn't figure out how. What do you mean by a flip book on Youth Voices?
So, sure. That's like the most edgy thing. It's just barely working, but I can show that to you. Should I show it to you?
Oh, if it's barely working,
No,
don't show it to me.
it's okay. I'll show you. I mean, it'll answer you what it is. It's kind of a throwback in some ways, but some people are interested in it, so I thought I'd put it on the site. I'm gonna share my window. Yeah, am I doing the right thing? Remember, let's do this one. Okay, can you make that larger? And then I'll go there. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me find where that is, though. Wait, that wasn't what I wanted. Okay, hold on. I have so many windows open that wasn't the one I expected to have. So I'm going back out again. Hold on.
Okay. So we can have a chat at the same time that we are in this space.
Yeah.
We could have one-on-one chats. And then what does nearby mean with the rooms that are nearby?
Nearby is you end the people who see the chat are the people in that round circle. It works the same way as the sound does.
Okay.
Do you see the round circle? First of all, I should have said the spotlight. So when you
Yeah.
move out of that spotlight, you can't hear us anymore.
Oh.
Do you see?
Oh, yes. Now I see it. Yes.
Okay. So that spotlight follows you around. That's also true for chatting. If you wanted to just talk to the people in your group, you could quickly chat like that.
Okay.
Right.
I have to tell you, I don't know if it's because it's pride, but I spent a lot of time in college at the Limelight, and just moving from one room to another is giving me like a club sensation.
There's actually a club here too, a club room as well. All right, let me show you, and then it's helpful for me, and I need to show Marina some of this stuff anyhow, and it's great to show you guys. So I'm where I wanted to be now. This is my profile, right? Which is not, but it's gonna enable me to get to Flipbooks. So I've only put one up just to sort of test it. But this answers you what a flipbook is.
Okay.
Let's see who Anna is coming. Let's say hello to Anna. Hi, Anna. We're in the middle of a conversation about what is a flipbook, and I was just showing one. Cool?
Great.
Okay. So here's, again, I've only put one. They sit on a shelf like this. There's all this sort of throwback stuff. I would like to call it rear view mirror stuff after Marshall McLuhan, but because it's a book, it's on a shelf. but then you can open it, right? And then you can flip through it like this, right? And when you come to a page you want to read, you can enlarge it. You can read that page, and you can get back again, and you can actually turn the page, and it makes a sound like a page is turning.
Okay.
Right. So this is a flip book, and part of what next week there is a group of young people coming to show a journal that they do. It's called a Journal of Color. I think it is. Yes, JOC. They're a group of high school kids from the Bronx, and they've put together a magazine every month, and it's a flip book magazine. So I just wanted to kind of say, oh, you did that? We could do that too. But also it seemed that this might be a way to do a portfolio. Like a kid could start doing, something on this page and then adds. What's nice about a digital flip book is that you can put images in and you can put video in as well, right?
Right.
Anna, you actually did a thing where you tried to combine different kids' videos at one point. A flip book might have worked for that project too.
For the web, you're talking about the web story that I did?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a flip book. Worth noting, you can click here and see all the pages, for example.
Right.
They're popular. They're like magazines. Online magazines is one way to think about it.
And so if I publish it in Youth Voices, I can create a link to it and then people can see my book. It's kind of like self-publishing.
That's right.
Okay.
You could, and you actually get a code and you could put it on any page you wanted to put it on within Youth Voices. So yeah, there's lots of possibilities there. I will say that what I haven't figured out yet, and so I have not opened this up to everybody, is how to make it so that a student couldn't accidentally delete everybody's. But that's just sort of the back end stuff that I have to think about all the time. But so there's that. Could I keep going this way about like some of the features on Youth Voices that are newish?
Yeah, can I ask a question though about the flip book? Like, could we access your flip book without you opening it up? How would we access it?
We would send you a link.
Okay.
You would get a link and you would open it up. Yep.
Okay, but it wouldn't be in like a shared space like this that we would see other flip books, like our classmates, our peers, or if we created flip books as a class together, and then wanted to kind of go back and, read one independently.
So you could, you could put it on a discussion post and just publish it that way, right? And then it would end up, and then somebody could find it. You could send them the link to that discussion post, and then they could find your book that way. And it could also, simultaneously, it could be on a class shelf somewhere, and you could find it that way.
Okay.
So
the class shelf is, I think, what I'll look into further. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, on that shelf, you decide you can make as many of those shelves as you want to, and you decide which books end up on that shelf and which ones don't.
Okay.
So, can I, let me go, I'm going to click this create button for a second because it takes us to a page that's not very interesting, but to the world, but I think will be interesting to us a little bit. And just to say that this spectrum feels important to me, and for Youth Voices, and I'm saying this to Anna and I'm saying it to you guys first, right? But so that there's an from quick, simple, not so concerned about audience kinds of writing to more in-depth writing, and flip books are here, web stories are here, building a portfolio is down here toward the bottom, and then docs is next, and then making comments. You have like one audience in mind at first, but it's public, and then these discussion posts. So you get some sense of the spectrum going here, and I refer back to James Moffat's work as kind of an organizing thing. Don't know how important that is, but I want you guys to understand that we're messing with that spectrum. The at the top of, with that in mind, at the top of each profile, though, and this is probably worth pointing out, there is an activity place, a docs tab, a comments tab, a post pad, a bookmarks pad, and a portfolio tab. There are more, but those are the main ones that I would want to emphasize. And I was going to encourage you to go play with the docs one. Up here under create, you will see these again, so you can make a discussion post. A doc is like a writer's notebook. You can make students won't see the flip books thing. All right. I want to figure out, and I'm saying this to you, Anna, mainly, but also I want to figure out how to get more people to start using Youth Voices as a place to keep a journal, so that Jessica Hernandez-Spear and I have our students every day go and open a doc, right? So here are my docs, right? And write do a journal entry, right? And then those journal entries collect over time. So there's that. Any questions about docs and how that works?
My question is,
yeah.
Looking at the typology from the last page, you talk about comments. I assume that comments relate to other people's docs and activities, correct?
So you can comment on anything. So, yeah. Did that answer that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess the comments is the category that kind of threw me in terms of the typology, just because like if you click on comments, it presupposes that there's something else for me to comment on, correct?
That's correct.
And my question is, how does the student, students, I assume, don't say, gee, I'm going to just comment, right? On anything that happens to.
No, the first right. In the first playlist, there are three things to do. One of them is to set up your profile, right? But the last thing is to go and find a post on the site and comment on that post.
Yeah, right? Okay. That's what I'm suggesting. So it appears that maybe I'm just being very temporal, that cool. I saw the playlist, it made sense, but it was because you were saying comment on a post, and then you gave kids a structure to do those comments in a very sophisticated way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. I don't know, that's just...
Hi, Christina. We're just sort of talking about Youth Voices and how it works.
Okay.
And what's new on it. and we were looking at what is the comment. So, Anna, can I ask you to throw back about how doesn't make any sense to start thinking about having kids use Youth Voices to keep a journal? Or where does that break down?
That's a really good question. I don't know what it is exactly, but I have been using Youth Voices now for 4 years, I guess, even before I became like a real teacher. And I'm not sure what it is about my own teaching practice, but I struggle to use the same tools on a regular basis like that. Like for me, Youth Voices has always been a place where it's cool because it's more public and kids get it. Like the most excitement I've seen from students is when they're interacting or they get a comment on a discussion post where they've talked about books or whatever. And so I think maybe it's just me as a teacher.
It's not just you. A lot of people feel that way. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it's because we have when we were in person, they had physical notebooks where I had them keep journals, and in this space, I've just had them use like Google Docs, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I know that's not really like an answer, but I think it's just like how.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Which isn't like a permanent thing, right? It's just that is something that can be it's malleable, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you are. Yeah. I love. I think of Sam Reed and Chris Sloan as sort of like the legacy users, and they're even more that way. They're like, you want me to ideate on Youth Voices? I don't get it. It's where you publish, right? So yeah, I want to figure out how to encourage that ideation process there too. And part of the big reason though is that when you create a doc here, it ends up in your profile. It ends up being able to end up in your portfolio eventually, right? Whereas when you do it elsewhere, it's harder to collect it all together. But
yeah, I'm actually experiencing that right now because I'm teaching. So I teach this class of English learners, and it's the highest level before they either graduate or go mainstream. And so I decided this year for their final they'd do a digital portfolio. And so I tinkered with a few different ideas, and I decided that they would compile everything using like links and writing their explanations and stuff and commentary in a Google Doc, and then they would copy it over into Wakelet, which I think is a platform that Chris Sloan maybe told me about. So I am interested in the streamlining that a little bit maybe in the future.
Yeah, cool. So how do we get teachers, how do I get you to kind of see you as an example, to kind of see the advantage of like what I've been striving for is not having to turn things in, not having to make links to things, that everything, you just do the journal entry every day and it ends up in your profile, in your activity feed, right? And then you have to learn how to use the activity feed, but but it's always there, right?
Well, and I think one thing that's, I don't know if it's just my students who struggle with this, but anything where there isn't a clear like deadline, turn this in, actually confuses them a lot, I think. So like,
well, we have them turn those journal entries in every day. Right. So
how do they like turn, like, how do you know that they've turned them in though?
Because they're on the activity feed and we check.
So you just go look at each person's activity feed. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a way to do that. That's easy, that we've set up for a couple places. Yeah. Didn't set it up for your kids, but we could.
Well, I was just thinking about like, I mean, even now with this portfolio that I'm working on, like so much of it is still grounded in Google Classroom. They're very confused about what they need to do. And I don't know if I didn't like frame the idea of a portfolio correctly. They're like, yeah, anything that involves multiple steps, I think is a little tricky. And so, yeah, I don't know. This is more about like me as a teacher, how to like frame something like this, where they're continually working on it.
Cool. So whether it's Google Classroom or it's another, what do you call those? Distribution thing.
LMS.
Yeah, or an LMS of some sort.
Right.
I kind of feel like you could use Youth Voices and not even use that stuff anymore, right? Now, whether or not you want to do that is another question, right? Given the culture of your school and everything, but it's set up that way, and I kind of want to get that message out.
That it could be like a replacement.
Yep.
Yeah.
You could do everything, anything you do for an LMS or Google Classroom, you could do on Youth Voices.
So, Paul, if you wanted to show teachers how they move from a journal doc into an activity feed, into whatever you want to show them, I think you have to sort of create a graphic example of how to, which they can share with kids as well, because the real complication is always what do I click? Where do I click?
Yeah, I get that. Yep. So just wanted to see. I'm showing this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I automatically went to, okay, so how is this like a Google Doc, and the idea of collaborative writing? Because a lot of what has been happening this year is that idea of, how the Google Doc lends itself to collaborative writing.
Yep. These docs are also available that way. Yeah.
Right. So that description.
How do you make it work that way, Paul?
Well, so here's my most recent journal entry, right? Right. And then your access, anybody can read this and anybody can edit it. Or I have it set for logged in users, but I could choose that differently. So you have lots of access possibilities. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay.
You could also share it with a group, by the way. So if you wanted to share it with everybody in, in the book club, that you could do that as well.
Okay.
Couple quick things. Let me and I'm happy to keep hearing questions and thoughts as we go here, but I wanted to show that that one of the newest things we have here, you know about the habits of mind, right? So you can go to anybody's activity feed and find something that they've done. Like here's my note to Nicole, right? And you, instead of liking it, what pops up are the habits. And then I can say, you know what? That one fits creating, and so that habit gets marked on that activity feed. Does that make some sense?
Yes.
So you could go try to do that on somebody's. The other thing that wasn't took some figuring out, and we're like, why, that I think will open up these things, is that you can go to, so for example, if I go to Nikki's so I went to members and I found Nikki's because she's logged in here. I can write on Nikki's activity feed, and then she gets, here, I'll do it. Nikki. Right. So, and that makes me feel excited that you're asking such great questions. So I'm going to post that now, right? And that ends up on your. So what I'll do, I'll quickly show everyone. If I go to back to members, I can now switch to Nikki. What Nikki will find now is right when you go to mentions here, you'll find that message from me.
How do I know to go to mentions, though?
You got to learn that. But
no, what I'm saying is, if I go to mentions, a lot of times and there's no mentions, is there a signal that I've got a mention to look at?
Yep. So when you first log in,
okay,
you will get this notification up here in the right-hand corner, and this is new too, by the way. Right?
Okay.
Although I don't know why you. Yeah. So I'm as you right now, right?
Right.
You're gonna accept that friendship. I don't know why you didn't get that notice, but that's okay. I mean, you gotta figure out that you gotta find your mentions.
Okay, but I'm going to get clued to that because there's going to be something in the right-hand column that says I got to mention. Is that it?
That's right.
Okay.
So, and this, what habit does this fit? This is questioning and posing problems, so I'm going to mark that. Cool. Gonna go back to me. I'm not sure where to go or what to think next. What are you thinking, or what?
What I'm thinking is that your playlists are critical in terms of helping teachers know what it is you're really trying to sell to them as a particular kind of activity. So much of what you've done with your playlist is really geared towards the students, right? But I'm wondering if you want teachers to use the site in a more, in a more robust fashion, or whatever you want to sort of direct them to.
Mm-hmm.
You almost have to create a playlist for them so they really do have a sense of what it is they would be getting if they bought into this notion.
It's a good point.
That is a really good point. Like a teacher-facing playlist is a really good idea. Almost like I feel like you could do something like one of those little scavenger hunts. Like find the place where you find your mentions, find out if anybody's mentioned you, or like find, that kind of.
By the way, do you see this pop up here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that pops up too. So we're connecting with each other.
Right.
Shall we go to the playlist then? With that, I mean, not necessarily to do that, but just trying to think.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so you've created an electronic portfolio function. Obviously, there are lots of electronic portfolio functions, right? What is the advantage of using this portfolio versus any other e-portfolio? Is it because everything you do within Youth Voices goes into the portfolio easily, but what about things you do external to Youth Voices?
Yeah, well, I have two answers to that. I'm trying to make it possible to have things that are external that to use the activity stream as the place where you collect everything.
Okay.
So for example, we have using RSS feeds, and I did this for most of your students, Anna, but not all of them. But any comment you make on Now Comment comes into your profile as well on Youth Voices, right? So it's a really, really good question, so part of the answer is to kind of understand that you can get everything onto your profile as sort of like the place to dump stuff, right? And it's easy to do. And anything you do on Youth Voices or Now Comment comes automatically. You don't even have to like turn it in.
Right.
But then, and this is an important part, so this is a message I sent to Stephen, right? Learning to bookmark stuff, right, is kind of the next step along the way. And it's also just part of teaching. I don't know how else to do it, but like once a week we stop and say, okay, go through your activity stuff. We know, Stephen, whatever. Stephen did 3 comments on Now Comment. Go pick one of those and bookmark it, right? So I bookmark it. And then it's up here under, it appears, and this is on everybody's, like it appears in my bookmarks, right? So it's sort of like a practice, a kind of regular activity to go through and bookmark anything from your activity feed. And and I'm trying to focus in on your question about the portfolio. I think the habits are one reason also, and I would love to organize the portfolios around the habits so that we can go here and start marking these as I don't know, what one would this be? Yeah, since I used that GIF there, I'm going to say I used some humor here, right? Right? And then I need to organize a page somewhere or a flip book or I need to organize a portfolio around the 5 habits of mine that I use the most, right? And that I've gotten evidence of.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, those are some of the answers, but I could be more clear. Anybody want to dialogue on that?
I just think that there's a larger vision behind all of this, Paul. So like sometimes the individual answers, I don't know. So when you were talking about like a sort of universe of discourse in which kids can navigate in and connect with each other and share, I feel like that's a helpful orienting idea.
This here. Am I still sharing?
Where do you find that?
If you just click on, I did mention, I think, before you came in, but that's okay.
Yeah, right. That's the discourse spectrum, right? That's what I was thinking about too. That's really helpful.
Can you remind us how to find that?
If you just click on create, it'll show up.
Oh yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting to me, just from a writing project perspective, is that like this is like the way we want. This is the way you become a writer, right? Like it's like this larger vision of being a writer in the world. You know, it's not like you only write because you have this activity to do or that activity to do or this thing to produce, but you're writing all the time. So I don't know. I find this very compelling.
Yeah, same. I think for English learners, that's one of the big things is like understanding different genres of writing. And so I can see this like makes me think about what I would use this in my own classroom for sure, and how I'd adapt it to stuff that I maybe am doing off of Youth Voices. It's so helpful.
A quick other thing, I don't know if this is related to the portfolio, but something that is not obvious. So this is a piece that Tristan, one of our students, wrote. So just today he finished. By the way, I got your notification that you reacted to the post. Right. So like these pop up. I'm trying to pepper the site with the notifications. So this is his post, and he did it in reference to everyday use, right? And over here, want to make a post like this, click on this image to find a guide to use. If you click there, this shows you the guide he used to create this piece of writing. And then on the right side here are a dozen other posts that use the guide as well, right? So I can click here and see another example of this guide being used in reference to another text, right? So again, I kind of feel like sometimes like, okay, that's cool, but is anybody using it? Is it like, how does it become part of the pedagogy is one of the questions, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do.
To use some of these story frames,
sometimes it's just hard to like. There's just a lot of information. So
do you download it and then type on it and then upload it again?
So where are the other?
Wait, I'm hearing two different people talk at the same time. This is a Kumo space issue. Nikki, can you move down a little bit? And then you'll hear Christina. Okay.
Sure.
So you were saying you were both talking, but you were almost saying the same question. But so, Christina, you go.
I think I just got like most recent posts that use this guide, but where are the other guides? Oh, I see. I just go up to the tab at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah.
I mean, I love how this is all connected, Paul. I think what I was saying was just like sometimes I'm like, wait, where is it?
Yeah, that's fair. No, troubleshooting like that is really helpful. I don't know. Whether it's teacher facing or student facing is a good question too. Worth pointing out, and let me find a good example on something else that's kind of newish. It's maybe 3 weeks old. And I have to find something that has some comments on it for this to be seen. Hold on, I'll just go to recent posts with most comments. And so there's this kind of newish way. So this green thing pops up here, which encourages people to find the comments toward the bottom, right? Click on that. You'll move down to the comments. A couple things you can do is you can rate the post now. You can subscribe to comments as well, if you'd like to. And then it's I think a clearer interface of who's talking and who's talking back to who, and so there's all that. That's hopefully encouraging more dialogue behind the scene. Let me see. So not a big change, but hopefully that is of some interest. I just remembered, because I forgot this. Let's see if this is here. Oh, it is something that, again, would take some teaching to get there, but youth can put in these little questions inside their post, right? So what do you think? Are video games a sport? Why or why not? And then the comment goes right next
right
to
there.
Right. So the teaching part is you have to teach the kid when they put the post up to add these feedback boxes where they want them to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he says, right? So those are some of the things we're trying to do to make commenting back and forth. I'm totally struck by how like I even forgot that feature was we put that feature in. So how would anybody know about it? That's okay.
Paul, can I say something?
Yeah.
Ask
I'm trying to pull back and just hear what people are thinking now. Go ahead. Whoop. And I left the room. Not on purpose. Hi, I didn't leave on purpose.
Like he needs to write a book about this whole journey.
I know. I also think Paul needs to
Hi,
write a book.
sorry. You were giving me a job to do. I'm glad I left. No.
I want you to write a book, Paul. I would help you if you wanted. If that was something.
I heard that. I heard that part. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that just the whole progression of how this thing has evolved and gotten so sophisticated compared to even a couple of years ago, I think is really cool. I wonder if putting your experience with this in narrative form might actually help people adopt this site the way that you hope it'll be adopted. Does that make any sense?
It does. Yeah, so let me just repeat something given the bigger picture, what you just said though. Like when I say I would love for people to keep their journal on Youth Voices in the docs function on Youth Voices, my reason for that is because then it becomes part of the whole matrix that ends up in a portfolio, right?
Right.
That can also connect to the habits of mind and right. So how instead of saying, hey, start using this doc, how do you say the bigger picture thing is what I've been asking. And then I think it makes sense for, okay, it's not that different than using Google Docs. And, now I see why we would do it on Youth Voices, right?
Suggestion you could start at the end. In other words, if somebody's interested in having their students create portfolios,
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing instead of building from the smallest unit up to the portfolio is say, this is why I'm suggesting that you use the doc function for journals so that student can pick out their, the journal entry that fits one of the habits of mind, whatever organizers you're using for your sections of your portfolio. But it seems to me that you sort of either you either start by making people very automatic and fluent with each one of the functions, right? By having a playlist that makes them do that. But maybe from a teacher perspective, what you do is start at the end and say, if you want to have student work in a e-portfolio, here's how you can use youth voices and all the features to get to where you want to go.
So I guess the question would then be, what format would it make sense to have that in? Like you were suggesting earlier, like a playlist, or something more narrative, or like a video pointing people, because I feel like I understand youth voices best when I see Paul like finding things. I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost I want to say here are all the places you can go, because even on that post where I showed you that you can go to find the guide, you could also go and find other people in that school, right? Or you could go, there are different, yeah. I don't know, but Anna, you had your own interest in having a portfolio with your kids, right? And I vividly remember the conversation with Chris Sloan and you, and like, yeah. I mean, what you're doing is fine. There's nothing wrong, right? And the playlist you wanted to make was a portfolio playlist. So
yeah,
maybe,
I'm interested in like figuring out how to make it happen in future years. I think I was a little concerned because we hadn't really touched youth voices with that in that class since last fall, I think. So I was trying to keep the platforms as like familiar as possible. So once they had the thing made in Google Docs, Wakelet is just like I could make a Loom video that's like 5 minutes long and explain the whole. It's not that complicated. So I feel like my experience with youth voices has been that it just takes time to teach kids and for kids to just tinker with things and kind of produce the stuff that we're hoping to see. I think if I front loaded more of the skills that you were just talking about next year, I could definitely see this being a thing that we put onto youth voices at the end of the year.
okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like, Paul, when I listened to Anna, that the key is, like any other system, that you have to commit to the system, and teachers have to find a way to use it very regularly. If they only use it for boutique projects, then it's the learning curve's too steep, to tell you the truth. And so if I know, for example, in my college, I've got to use Blackboard, whether I like Blackboard or not, if that's my only option, then I'm going to learn the features on Blackboard, and I'm going to learn them well, and they're going to become routine, and they'll become routine for my students as well. What it sounds like is youth voices is still not a routine enough in people's classrooms, so that students have the automaticity they need to really find stuff.
I would agree that you said what I've been trying to articulate. Thank you.
Yeah, but that's sort of how we've always sort of built community. Like just come and do whatever you want to do,
right.
And then we'll get you involved in the other stuff, maybe, right? But yeah, but maybe there's a way to kind of say, hey, that's great what you're doing. There's also this other stuff that goes next to it, right? Somehow.
And in some ways, Paul, it's just finding a way so that teachers use it regularly enough that every time they use it, it's not like a steep learning curve for the kids again. You know, I'm not saying they have to devote their lives to it, but I
Yeah,
do
some
think,
regularity. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I get
like
that.
any other tech tool, you know, it doesn't feel as hard once you've learned some of the functions. And then you're more willing to
Cool.
explore.
Well, I've learned a lot here tonight. Anybody who's been quiet, you want to jump in before we jump off, or free? Go ahead, Melissa. You unmuted. Yeah.
I'm going to come back to, and I guess, you know, the ground rules for me, that discourse spectrum, I really loved as like, it feels like a life preserver right now. Like I need to see that so that I can then guide my eye in looking at the different options. And then I'm also thinking about all of the remote classroom observations I did this semester, where there was a real fluid movement from primarily teachers using a shared Google document that the kids could write on at the same time. And then they would move to do an exit ticket, you know, or an activity in class kick. And it seems like you have the capacity in Youth Voices for all of that to happen here. But, you know, going back to those ground rules and what Nikki and Anna are talking about, you know, learning that language, and so that it becomes second nature. First for teachers. So I like the earlier suggestion of a scavenger hunt, thinking about this summer and going through, you know, a playlist where I have to get oriented with the language of the platform and how one piece serves another. But like you said earlier, Nikki, when we met, this idea, you know, Blackboard is so limited, and this is something that we can kind of jump out from public to private in a way that's really exciting, because then it's like, you know, this is my classroom community, but we can expand larger, but at some point we can also come back into the private, which sort of sounds like that process versus product question, right? So I need more time to tinker with this, to understand it for myself, is where
Cool.
I'm at right now.
Cool.
And I would encourage you, Paul, I tinker better with playlists rather than just go explore. In other words, what playlists do is give me a direction of how to tinker so that I get some sense of success, rather than just kind of mindlessly wandering around.
Very cool. Thank you for all those really smart things you all said tonight. It was very helpful. Just to say, Kumo Space, and I started doing it at kumospace.com/youth voices, which you can go to and look, but there's nothing there yet. But they give you a blank room now, and then you can build your furniture however you want. I just started playing with it today, but unfortunately they didn't put links in yet, so I'm like, wait a second, you got to be able to link out to stuff. But so they're making progress. Just to say. But this space that you're in right now, if you haven't explored around, is pretty cool in terms of that newspaper on that table, being able to click on that and go see that newspaper, or go see the Wikipedia article and so forth.
Cool.
So thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, we're launching teachers space on Thursday.
Right.
So, you got a rainbow. I want a rainbow.
How'd you get the rainbow?
The red chair in your bottom left hand corner.
Okay.
Click on it.
Cool. So, Paul, I think it might be. I'll email you about it. It just might be great to like invite people to try out this space, or come to TTT. There's a like community events page where you could announce it, and then.
So I'm signed up to get the emails about that, but yes, I will follow up on that. That's launching tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
And next week, there are youth who produce their own online magazine, have for a year now, in the Bronx, are coming on TTT. So.
Oh, nice.
That'll be so. I'll make sure to announce it there.
Yep. Oh, perfect. Okay.
So.
Nice
Good
to
see
you
you all. Anna, are you done teaching yet or not? No?
Tomorrow's our last day.
Tomorrow's your last day?
Yeah.
Thanks for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Melissa.
I'm glad I finally got in.
So you can hit the exit with your cursor, or you can hit the exit room down at the bottom.
So I got like 2 little people when I hit up.
I know,
the sign.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. What?
Can you add things, or you just like pick up things like that?
Yeah, you just pick up things. I don't know. Wait, did you see the Wikipedia page?
No, where is that?
That's like, for me, that's the game changer. It's right here in this room.
Oh, that newspaper?
Yeah, click on the newspaper.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So if you can put objects around the room, like go watch this video, go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Oh, that's really cool. Great.
So in the build a room thing that they now have out, you can put your own image in, but you can't link to anything yet. So
we can't do that link. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wrote them immediately, say, wait, you left something off, guys.
Okay. Cool.
See ya. Yeah.
Okay. Bye, Paul.
Yeah.
Thanks.